Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, good morning, Las Vegas. Thanks for joining us. It's the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. On a Tuesday, a Corona Tuesday. Hard to believe we've been doing this for like a month now. It's incredible, but we are broadcasting live from my kitchen table. That's right, folks, to try to give you the latest information and maybe entertain you a little bit as well during these very difficult times. Thanks for joining us, and we're going to have a great show lined up for you today. Coming up later on in the program, one of my favorite stand-up comics in the world. And as you know, he's been a resident here in Las Vegas for a very long time. Jerry Seinfeld's former roommate, by the way, in college. Guy's a legend. George Wallace will be joining us. Really, really funny guy. You know, the issues with churches and not just churches, but any religious gathering, still in the news. In fact, we have a story of a pastor at a local church who defied the laws, and now he's dead from the coronavirus. Sad, but could have easily been prevented. We're going to talk a little bit about that in hour number 2. Somebody that disagrees with me on that, her name is Annie Black. She's in the Mesquite City Council, and she's running for state assembly. So she's going to tell me and state her case on why she thinks it's okay for many people to gather for religious reasons, coming up in hour number 2. You know, I did 3 hours yesterday. We did 3 hours, and I didn't really bring up Donald Trump much at all. I tried not to. In fact, I defended him. When it came to calling this virus the Chinese virus, I defended him, and I tried to focus on a lot of other things yesterday, some good, some not so good. As I mentioned, you know, the religious gatherings in churches, something that really fired me up, and it should fire you up too. Didn't really talk a lot about Donald Trump. And, you know, I didn't really want to start off the show today by talking about Donald Trump. I would have loved to have started off the show today to talk about how numbers are down everywhere and, you know, things are really looking up and medication, is available. We'll get to that. Would have been nice to start off by talking about that. But Donald Trump's press conference yesterday was one of the most embarrassing moments, I think, of his presidency. I really, truly believe that. Not only did he say things that weren't factually accurate, but he put together this 2-minute propaganda video, paid for, by the way, by taxpayer, basically attacking the media. And that's obviously what's on his mind these days. And I guess that was more important to him yesterday, more of a campaign rally of a press conference than an actual press conference itself. But, you know, we have some audio, and I'm going to talk about that in my disappointment. He does not have absolute authority. We'll get to that. He spoke about that yesterday. And by the way, Chris Cuomo has rarely ever gone after the president during these coronavirus press conferences, but this morning. Or I'm sorry, did I say Chris? Andrew Cuomo. I do watch Chris Cuomo every night, who, by the way, has the coronavirus, his brother. But Andrew Cuomo has, I think, finally taken off the gloves and, in a respectful way, but in an honest way, has gone after the president. We'll get to that in a little bit here. But I want to start, you know, as I mentioned, in Donald Trump's press conference yesterday, he put together this 2-minute propaganda video. It was more of a campaign rally than it was a press conference. He was asked about Dr. Fauci. He was asked about absolute authority. But I want to start with this exchange with CBS correspondent Paula Reed, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I think she's a very, very, very good reporter. And in this propaganda video, just to give you a little bit of context, talked about the things he did in January, the things he did in March, but not one thing he did in February. Completely skipped that month. So Paula Reed asked what I consider to be a very fair question. So this is Paula Reed talking to Donald Trump in the press conference yesterday, challenging his decisions in the early stages of the coronavirus outbreak. Have a listen to this exchange.
Argument is that you bought yourself some time and you didn't use it to prepare hospitals. You didn't use it to ramp up testing. Right now,
you're so disgraceful. It's so disgraceful the way you say that. Let me just listen. I just went over it.
Or this rant supposed to make people
I just went over it
in an unprecedented crisis.
Nobody thought we should do it, and when I did it.
But what did you do with the time that you bought?
You know
the
we
month
did?
of February. That,
You know
that
what we
video
did?
has a gap.
What
The
do you
entire
do?
month of February.
What do you do when you have no case in the whole United States?
You had cases
When
in February.
excuse me, you reported it. 0 cases, 0 deaths.
All right, cut it right there for a second. Cut it right there. She's asking him about February, and he's talking about a different month. He's talking about January. He knows exactly what she's asking him, and he's not answering the question. So you have a couple people in that room that are saying, no, Mr. President, she's talking about February. Have a listen to this as it continues as he avoided the question.
Have no case in the whole United States.
You had cases
When
in February.
excuse me, you reported it. 0 cases, 0 deaths on January 17th.
January. February, the entire
January,
month of
I said in
February. Your video
January.
has a complete gap.
On
Month of
January
February.
30th.
What did your administration do in February with the time that your travel ban got
A
you?
lot.
What?
A lot. And in fact,
All
we'll
right,
give
cut it
you
right there. Cut it right there. You are holding a press conference, and it seemed like your whole objective in that press conference was to talk about all the great things your administration has done in regards to the coronavirus. Okay, no problem, Mr. President. When a reporter asks you, what did your administration do in February, because in the 2-minute propaganda video, you skip through the entire month, you should be prepared enough to tell people. Now, what does he say? A lot. We'll give you the information. A lot. How unprepared are you when you're trying to make the case for yourself and you can't answer the question? Let's continue with the audio.
a lot. And in fact, we'll give you a list. What we did, in fact, part of it was up there. We did a lot. Look. You know you're a fake. You know that. Your whole network, the way you cover it, is fake. And most of you, and not all of you, but the people are wise to you. That's why you have a lower approval rating than you've ever had before, times probably 3. And when you ask me that question, let me ask you this: why did Biden apologize? Why did he write a letter of apology? No, that's very important.
Cut it. That's very important. Do you think people give an F whether Joe Biden apologized to him or not? Do you think that's what's on people's minds? And by the way, she asked a very fair question. Mr. President, what did you do in February? You bought yourself some time. That's actually a compliment. What did your administration do in February?
What do you mean bought yourself some time, Brian? Do you know how many cases were in the United States by February 28th when Anthony Fauci went on TV on the 29th? Anthony Fauci, again, the infectious disease expert who was giving the president.
What does that have to do with what I just said?
What I'm saying is there wasn't a lot of cases in the United States by that time.
There
in
were
fact,
cases in February.
Do you know how many there were?
There were cases
Do you
in
know how
February.
many, though?
I believe it was the second week of February that there were 15 cases,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken.
There was a collective 35 cases by the end of February. It means that the virus was not spreading. Keep in mind, and I'm surprised that President Trump wasn't exactly knowledgeable on this.
You're surprised Donald Trump wasn't knowledgeable?
Well, he was obviously focused on January. I do believe that in the press conference today, a lot of it will be predicated on what exactly happened in February.
I guarantee you that won't happen.
I'm almost certain that it will.
I'll make a $100 bet with you right now that doesn't
You
happen.
don't think he'll bring it up once?
I guarantee you he will not share with the media what he did in February.
I think he will. $100 you got to bet.
Okay,
Fair
enough.
We have an absolute wager.
Fair enough.
So
I'll never get paid, but that's fine.
You will absolutely get paid if that's it. Stein's a witness and campaign's a
All right.
witness. We have
Cut.
4
Can I get a
people
cut?
in here that are all witnesses.
No, you get no cut. All right, let's continue with this audio. But here's the thing. Hold on a second, Sean. Here's the thing. We can debate and talk about how many cases there were in February. The bottom line is his entire press conference yesterday, and I'm going to continue with the audio, was dedicated on defending himself and his administration. The video, as I like to call it, the propaganda campaign video, that was, by the way, paid for by taxpayer. Okay.
Do you know how much that probably cost?
Hold on. If I could just skip, it doesn't matter. It's breaking the law. If you look at the Constitution, what he did was actually breaking the law. I'll get to that in a little bit because there's verbiage that says what he did, making a video like that in the White House, is breaking the law. I'll get to that. But this press conference was about defending himself, and he couldn't defend an entire month, a very key month in February. Let's continue with the audio. Go ahead, Sean.
you've ever had before, times probably 3. And when you ask me that question, let me ask you this: why did Biden apologize? Why did he write a letter of apology? No, that's very important. Why did the Democrats think that I acted too quickly? You know why? Because they really thought that I acted too quickly. We have done a great job. Now, I could have kept it open, and I could have done what some countries are doing. They're getting beat up pretty badly. I could have kept it open. I thought of keeping it open because nobody's ever heard of closing down a country, let alone the United States of America. But if I would have done that, we would have had hundreds of thousands of people that would right now be dead. We've done this right, and we really have done this right. The problem is the press doesn't cover it the way it should be.
Yeah, the press doesn't cover it the way it should be covered. So then it gets worse, ladies and gentlemen. It gets a lot worse. Trump is asked about his authority because he's been on record as saying that he has total authority over these governors, which is, by the way, not factually accurate. We'll get to that. Have a listen to this exchange about Trump having total authority in regard to reopening the country. Have a listen to this.
When somebody's the president of the United States, the authority is total. And that's the way it's got to be.
Total. The authority is total.
It's total. It's total. And the governors know that.
So if
the governors know that. Now you have a couple of bands of excuse me. You have a couple.
Could you rescind that order?
You have a couple of bands of Democrat governors, but they will agree to it. They will agree to it. But the authority of the President of the United States having to do with the subject we're talking about is total.
Okay, first of all, this is not opinion. We share a lot of opinions on this show. It is absolutely 100% factual that the president is wrong. Not an opinion, fact. The Constitution says the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. That is according to the Constitution. Governor Cuomo of New York this morning, and again, Cuomo has tried to work with the president. Cuomo said it himself this morning that it's just wrong. It's 100% wrong. It's not factually accurate. Here's somebody else that agrees with me who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, who works for Fox News. His name is Judge Napolitano. Here's what he had to say about authority.
In areas of health, safety, and welfare, the 10th Amendment expressly reserves the power to regulate for those areas to the states. So the federal government can help out with cash. It can help out with resources, it can help out with information, and it can help out with guidelines. But in terms of the actual power, for example, to reopen Broadway theaters, to reopen stadiums, to reopen restaurants, to reopen other parts of the economy that have been shut down, it is the governors who have shut them down, and it is the governors who will make the decision to open it up.
There you go. It's Judge Napolitano in his own words.
No, I've been saying that for a while, Brian.
So why would the president say that then?
The states are sovereign. Why do you think that there wasn't an all-encompassing stay-at-home order?
So why would the president
it's the exact same logic. Here's what the president doesn't want to happen. He doesn't want economies that should be open. He doesn't want Democratic governors for states with economies that should be open, that could be open, because, again, keep in mind, when this first happened, the people that got that got the virus that were asymptomatic, that didn't have any symptoms, probably don't have the virus anymore because it doesn't stay in your system for more than 20 to 28, which means they're not silent carriers. They can't infect other people.
But what does this have to do
with everything, Brian.
The president lied.
Just listen, Brian. What I'm saying is he doesn't want economies that him and his team believe should be open not to be open because of for political reasons.
Fine. So lie. And
I'm just telling you that's exactly what's going on. That's what's going on through his head.
Why can't he say that? How do you know what's going through his head?
Because I know what he's thinking at this point.
You know what Donald Trump.
I'm very certain I know what he's thinking at this point.
So tell me what he's thinking when he lies. Then tell me why he would do that. Since you know how he's thinking, he does a press conference yesterday saying he has total control. Everybody that has a brain knows that that's wrong. You're right. So why would he do that?
I know it's wrong.
So why would
I've been
say
saying
that?
it's wrong for X amount of time.
I understand.
That's not changing.
I'm not accusing you.
Again, the states are sovereign.
I agree.
Right.
We all agree.
What Donald Trump doesn't want, what he doesn't want to happen, is for a bunch of states to refuse to open up their economies, which affects the entire, like, for example, in Michigan.
So because he doesn't want that to happen, it's okay for him to lie.
Like, for example, in Michigan, where you have
You're not answering my question.
major car distribution, or I'm assuming car manufacturers, like in Detroit, Michigan. He doesn't want the entire Michigan economy to be shut down
and that might
until October or until September for political purposes, or even leading into the election in November.
And that might be true.
And as far as it being a propaganda video, Brian, at what point did he say Trump 2020?
So you don't think that was to boost himself?
All that was to prove
you think that's
that the
appropriate?
media has been misreporting this from the jump, which they have.
What did they misreport?
Brian.
What did they misreport?
They've been saying the exact same things that they've been accusing him of saying, and he was saying this is all
Like
I'm
what?
proving.
Like in the last month, give me an example of somebody that's misreported something.
What the last month?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Nancy Pelosi a couple of days after the travel ban to China was instituted.
In the last month.
Let's talk about Joe Biden. Let's make it in 60 days instead of 30 days.
What did Joe Biden misreport?
Joe Biden called Donald Trump a xenophobe,
and he apologized
for shutting. That's a big deal.
And he admitted he was wrong, and he apologized.
Okay, that's fine. But the fact that he called Donald Trump a xenophobe,
so that gives the president the right
for shutting down traffic in China.
So,
and keep in mind, China has been not on the up and up since day one, as far as the transmissible element of the virus, as well as the caseload.
Right, well, we're getting off the subject. I don't know how we got to this. We are, because you haven't answered my question. We were talking about how he said he had totality. He had the power over the governors.
And I said, obviously he doesn't.
Okay,
obviously.
And I asked you a very specific question. Why is he lying? And all you've done is said, well, here's what I think he was. That's what Trump supporters do. Here's what I think he was trying to say. Here's what I think he meant. And I'm asking you a very specific question. Why did the president lie? Is it because he's a dope, or is he intentionally lying, or both? It's a very simple question. I mean, that's what I'm trying to ask you here. You could give the reasons why you think he said that, but I'm just asking you why. Why? This is a big deal, okay? This is the Constitution we're talking about here. He's the president of the United States. It's not an opinion. He's 100% wrong. And then when he's asked, who told you that, Mr. President, won't give an answer. This is important for the president to be factually accurate.
And this is a really weird situation, because we've never had a situation where the entire country is in lockdown. And if some states open and some states don't open for political purposes, and that affects the well-being of the country as well as, I mean, I'm saying, what if that were to,
what makes you think that a Democrat would do that?
What if that were to take place? Well, that's what he's afraid of.
Well, I mean, what if China went to war with us? I'm not going to do it.
No,
I'm just saying.
No, that's actually a strong possibility at this point. You have entire regions of the country that are, Oregon, California, Washington.
You're going in circles.
No,
Why
I'm not. I'm not going in circles, Brian. I'm saying it is possible that these states refuse to open their doors, despite the fact. So it's possible that Republican states, that 60% or 70% of Republican states that haven't been destroyed by this virus, open up. And some states that have been hit very hard, like, for example, I think New York shouldn't open up until probably
Then
June.
why don't you talk about?
But I hope it doesn't go through July or August, when the virus should be completely or nearly eradicated from the country. And there shouldn't be a worry about waves at that point.
Why is it that you're bringing up, well, I think these Democrats might do this, but you don't bring up the Republicans who have already screwed up? For example, the South Dakota governor. You were talking about the meat that was tainted and all this other stuff. What about the Republican governor there who did not have people abide by these 6-foot rules and social distancing, and because of that, her state is suffering now? Why don't you talk about the Republicans that have made enormous mistakes, and this idiot in Florida? Why don't you talk about
their state's not suffering, Brian? I think they have a collective 300 cases.
In South Dakota, they're not suffering?
Half of which are at that plant.
In South Dakota, they're not suffering. You don't think that has anything to do with what the Republican governor of that state did, not telling people to abide by social distancing and leaving everything open? You don't think that has anything to do with her policy making? I mean, I don't care if she's a Republican or a Democrat. She made a mistake. It was disgusting what she did, and now people are suffering because of it. It's wrong. And I go back to what I said about Donald Trump. It is wrong to attack the media, regardless if you think the media is attacking you or not. It's wrong to put together a video. That was what was on the president's mind yesterday. How do I defend myself?
It was not propaganda. He didn't say Trump 2020. He didn't say anything about being elected.
He doesn't have to say Trump 2020 for it to be propaganda.
You can't just apply that to it, Brian. You know what was actually terrible was when Anthony Fauci went up there and he clarified the comments that were totally spun out of control on CNN. And that same reporter, Paula Reed, said, "Hey, Mr. Fauci, were you put up to this by the president?" And he looked at her like he literally wanted to kill her.
I'm so glad you brought up Fauci.
I'm serious. I'm very serious. But to me, that was beyond disgusting. You know what else was disgusting? When Donald Trump was doing that, when that video, which was very simple clips, it probably cost a few $100 to put together. I could have put it together myself.
Doesn't matter.
Soak it of campaign sitting right next to me right now.
Doesn't matter. It's
in
a joke.
In probably 1 hour. taxpayer money, not exactly a large expense to the taxpayer.
Doesn't matter.
But when that was
It's the
on,
point of it.
CNN literally took they took CNN and CSNBC. They took their coverage and they twisted. And then they at the Chiron after the fact they added, oh, by the way, Donald Trump is trying to he's trying to rewrite history with what happened with the coronavirus. Brian, that was disgusting.
Well, it's amazing to me.
And I don't think CNN and I don't think a lot of these media outlets actually understand what the American people are really thinking about them right now, because they're all watching us, and all they care about is getting this over with. They don't care about Donald Trump at this point. It's not political for them.
But then why
it
is Trump
not
making it political?
He's just saying you guys are telling the public something that I'm not doing, and I'm proving it.
No, you're right. I mean,
that's all he's doing.
You're right.
He said we have hundreds of clips like that. That's
you're
fine.
right.
Please interject.
I mean, if you think Americans care about the ratings, you're absolutely right. Trump's absolutely right, because Trump has bragged several times about ratings.
You know why he does
that? If I could just finish, Trump has bragged several times about ratings. Yesterday he puts together, yes, I do believe it's a propaganda video. He's attacking the media. He's talking about Joe Biden. So don't you tell me Donald Trump isn't making it about politics. We got to take a break, but I'm glad you brought up Fauci, because when we come back, we are going to play a clip, and we're going to find out why Donald Trump decided to retweet a hashtag Fire Fauci. Why did he decide to do that? Well, guess what? He was asked yesterday in his press conference about it, and we have the audio, and you're not, well, maybe some of you will believe it. You're not going to believe his response to it during a pandemic and why he decided to retweet. Why he decided to retweet something that says Fire Fauci, yet he claims him and Fauci, everything is just fine. Everything is hunky-dory. And then coming up later in this hour, one of the Fertittas laying off a bunch of his workers, and you're not going to believe what he said about it. That and much, much more. We'll get to your phone calls at 702-257-5396. Take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. We'll get to your phone calls here. I know there's some people who have been waiting patiently on hold. We'll get to you in a sec here. 702-257-5396. By the way, the law that I was referring to that I believe the president broke in regards to this 2-minute video, it's called the Hatch Act of 1939. You could look it up if you like. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but that's what I was referring to. You brought up Anthony Fauci, JD, a few moments ago. Well, he brought Fauci up in the press conference yesterday, and a reporter asked him a question about why he retweeted something that said hashtag Fire Fauci. So I want you to have a listen to this exchange yesterday.
I retweeted somebody. I don't know. They said fire. Doesn't matter.
Did you notice that when you retweeted it?
Yeah, I notice everything.
So you retweeted it even though it said time to fire Fauci?
No, that's somebody's opinion. All that is an opinion.
And you elevated
No,
it.
I was called about that. I said, I'm not firing. In fact, if you ask your friends in the office, in the public relations office, I was immediately called upon that. And I said, no, I like him. I think he's terrific, because this was a person's view. Not everybody's happy with Anthony. Not everybody's happy with everybody.
Not everybody's happy with Anthony. Not everybody's happy with anybody. And then his excuses. It was another person's view. So would he retweet anything negative about himself? That's somebody else's view. Would he retweet something negative?
I don't think anybody would, Brian.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think many politicians anywhere would.
Well, are you okay with him retweeting that? And by the way,
I told you yesterday I thought he was going to fire Fauci. I literally said, and I said I would be okay with it. So I mean,
are you okay with him retweeting that?
I told that to Chris Swing yesterday. I said based on what Donald Trump has done over the course of his presidency, the fact that he was going to that he retweeted that, in my opinion, meant that it's going to happen soon.
He was also asked and pushed on that further why he would retweet something that said fire Fauci, and his response was, controversy is good. I like controversy. Keep in mind, if I don't have to remind all of you, we're going through one of the most difficult times that this country has ever had to go through in this pandemic.
It should not be political.
I agree. And at that time, he probably shouldn't look to create controversy. I think we all could agree on that. Let's go back to our phone calls. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Gerald, who's been waiting patiently on hold. Gerald, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Gerald, how are you?
Hi, I've got a question for JD.
I got an answer.
Boring, gentlemen. But my question for JD is based on something you said yesterday when you said I had several nurses. I think you said 14. They found them to have coronavirus on the soles of their shoes or the bottom of their shoes.
Yes.
And I'd like to know, the source of that. Because I'd like to warn my daughter to be sure and cleanse the shoes and coming in, but I can't tell her anything without giving her a source. And I just wonder, where'd you get your info?
I read that a couple days ago. I believe that took place in New York City on the same side of things, actually, I read that New York City, at one specific hospital in New York City, pregnant women, 14% of them were asymptomatic to the coronavirus as well. But I'll circle back and I'll get you that exact source.
Okay, Gerald. Appreciate you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
thanks, Gerald.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Brad. Brad, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Brad?
Yeah, right on, gentlemen. Hey, I want to give one thing. I think we should get rid of Fauci immediately. You got to go back to way in 2009 and look at what Fauci was doing with the virus when it was in North Carolina, and he was sending it to Wuhan, along with $3.7 million to mutate that virus. How come you're not bringing that up?
Why did you say your name was Brad when we know your name is Brady? Let's bring that up first. Why would you do that?
This is low for you, even,
Brady.
Brady.
Let me on. I don't like being on a whole.
Well, hold on a second. First of all, I'm not surprised that you said something that is not factual because we let you on this show every day. It's not my fault that you're a moron and 10 seconds into every call you. Okay, get rid of him. It's not my fault that you're a moron and 10 seconds into every call you say something stupid. That's not my fault. That's your fault. We give you an opportunity to come on. It's not my fault that you're an ignoramus. That's not my fault.
Did Brad/Brady say he never gets to come on?
Yeah, completely
We
idiotic.
put him on once a day.
Yeah, about as idiotic as his statements on Fauci to begin that phone call. I'm not even going to spend more time on you because you're an idiot, Brady. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Joey. Joey, you're next on the Vegas Take.
What's up, Joey?
How you doing? I'm not going to say Brian. I'm going to say some people hate Donald Trump so much that they want to buy into the worst case scenario anything Donald Trump is involved in. Be it Russia, be it Jeff Sessions, be it the phone call with Ukraine, now the coronavirus.
Okay, we haven't mentioned any of those three things.
But that's an all-encompassing statement, Brian.
What happened is you lose what would be your logic and rational thought.
How have I lost that logic? Okay, let's talk about me. Let's just call it what it is. You're talking about people like me. Hold on a second. Okay, fair enough. Let's have a respectful conversation. Where have I lost logic in anything I've said today that you disagree with? Please tell me.
I'm just saying it's like you become so angry.
And I'm asking you to tell me something I said that well, here's why I'm angry. I'll answer your question. And I noticed you couldn't specifically name anything, but that's fine. Stay on the line. Okay, it's a radio show, so I'd like you to get to your points a little faster if you may. But here's why I'm angry. He lied yesterday in his press conference. He made it all about him once again. He attacked reporters. He put together a 2-minute propaganda video. Now, that's why I'm angry this morning. Now, if you're not angry at that, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But don't say that, don't go after me for being angry. I think my points are very valid.
I'm just saying, listen, I didn't vote for Barack Obama, but I wanted
Neither did I. Neither did I. And I voted.
Every president to succeed because.
See, here's where you're wrong. You don't think I think the same way as you? I've said that.
I think you do, but let's say this: the models were wrong. Remember, 2 million.
What does that have to do with my anger? I'm not talking about the models. What does that have to do with what you said about me?
Because I'm going to say this: either you got to admit, people that say Trump is doing bad, either the models were wrong or Trump did a great job and not 2 million people didn't die. You got to make a decision.
Trump did a great job and not 2 million people died. Is that what you just said?
Listen, they said 2 million people are going to die. Now, Fauci came out the other day, said more like 60,000, which would be less than the flu, that killed the flu.
So could it be possible, and let me ask you this, could it be just possible that people are practicing social distancing and they're listening to their governors, and because they're abiding by what they're if I could just finish my question. Excuse me, let me finish my question. Can it be possible that people are abiding by social distancing, and that might be the reason why the death toll has gone down? Can't that be possible?
You have to give credit to Trump then.
You have to give credit
for what?
To the Trump administration and Anthony Fauci and the doctors for having the expected death toll be 2.2 million under the worst circumstances, putting the measures they did into place, and then dropping that number by 97.3%.
So what else?
So you're right. No, he's totally right.
Yeah. Okay, well, you said anger, and I gave you. Excuse me, I gave you. Okay, I'll respond to that. I'll respond to that. I will respond. Okay, let me know when you're done with your Donald Trump knee pad rant. Okay, are you ready? I'll tell you why. I told you why I was angry. Okay, I gave you several reasons why. Excuse me, it's my turn now. I gave you several reasons yesterday why I was angry at the president. And I'm angry at the president every day by the way he conducts himself, his behavior, and how he conducts his press conferences. Now, if you want to give him credit for the coronavirus, I completely, or the response to it, I think that's a joke, and I disagree with you. But let's just say hypothetically you're right. Let's say the president did everything right. By the way, he didn't with this.
He doesn't have to do everything right,
If I could just finish my statement. Let's just say that he did everything right, which, by the way, far from it. In fact, I think it's the opposite. It still wouldn't give the president to act and give him a right to act the way he acts and behaves at every single one of these press conferences. That is why I'm angry, and I think it is pathetic. Like, people like you cannot go after him for that and acknowledge that he's done anything wrong. You want me to give him credit for doing things right? You can't say he did anything wrong. You can't say anything.
Well, the problem is you give him 5% credit for doing things right, and you attack him 95% of the time when he does something wrong. But the fact remains, Brian, and this cannot be disputed. If this is the most deadly, contagious virus in 102 years, and the last one killed 75 million people, and this one in the United States kills 20,000 or 50,000 or 60,000, either this was a major overreaction, or somebody in the United States, the Trump administration in particular, did a very good job of containing it to prevent it from exploding. You cannot deny it at this point. No, it's not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. How is that ridiculous?
It's completely ridiculous.
You have to give. We just shut down the entire country.
A month and a half ago, he said 15 cases down to zero. Don't look me in the face and say he's done a good job.
He's done an outstanding job.
That's
actually,
a joke.
yes,
That is embarrassing.
He has done an outstanding job, Brian. Considering how contagious this is and how potentially deadly this thing is. Yes.
How about our testing? Were we prepared for this?
Prepared in what regard?
In what regard?
Yes.
What else? Let's start with testing.
Why would we have 300 million or 200 million or 100 million tests prepared in 1 month for a virus we didn't know anything about? Brian, as late as February 29th, Anthony Fauci was telling the American public it was going to be okay, and we had nothing to worry about.
It was the president of the United States for months that was telling everybody it was going to be okay.
No, not for months.
For months, January and February.
Then why would he have shut down travel to China on
because
January
the virus,
31st.
I'll tell you
why. Because they thought the virus was going to be because the virus had not spread to other countries.
Okay.
By the middle of February, it was in about 10 different countries. There was a couple of cases. It didn't really explode until
Obviously,
March.
I'm not going to convince
and once
you.
it exploded, actions were made.
Listen,
period.
Listen.
Well, what about Bill de Blasio, March 3rd?
That's whataboutism.
No, it's not.
He's the
it's
president
not
of the United States.
No.
I'm not going to go through every Democrat that said something wrong. He's the president of the United States.
Not every
That's
Democrat.
What Trump supporters do.
I'm talking about
what about
the mayor
I'm sick of it.
of New York City, Brian.
Come on.
The epicenter of the virus on the planet.
What about the president of the United States?
193,000 cases are there. 50% of the deaths in the United States are in New York City right now, Brian. Bill de Blasio on March 3rd said, you know what, New Yorkers? It is okay. Go back to work. There's no issue whatsoever.
Can I respond to what you're saying now? First of all, even if de Blasio was 100% wrong, it doesn't excuse, and that's what Trump supporters do. De Blasio did something, said this, and this, so, it's okay if the president did this, and this. That is a ridiculous excuse. Let's get back to the phone call, 702-257-5396. Let's go to John. John, you're next.
Hey, what's up, John?
John, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, man.
What's
JD,
up?
I'm going to ask you a question too, man.
All right, cool, man.
What kind of drugs are you on, and where do you get them, man? I mean,
well, you can answer the question.
I'm not going to answer that question. If this was a caller asking you what drugs you were on, you would have cut him off and called him a moron.
No, I would have. I would have said, "What have I said
JD,
wrong?" Hold on a second.
No, that's fine. No,
All right,
I'm just telling you, Brian.
I'll handle it the way I would. Okay, I'll handle it the way I would. John, ask JD. Do we still have John on the line? Because I didn't want to hang up on him. He's gone. Okay, here's what I would have said. John, what have I said that you disagree with? That's what I do when people immediately call me a name. I said, what do you disagree on? John, you can call back and have a debate with JD. Don't insult him.
No, I'm not big into insults. I am perfectly fine with disagreeing with me, but if you're going to insult me, I'm not going to deal with you.
Okay,
period.
well people,
that goes for on air. That goes for social media as well.
People do that to me all the time,
fine.
and I just try to pin them in a corner and say, what do you disagree with me on? It happens every day with me, and I think we should give him another opportunity to call back if he's willing to be respectful to you and have a good debate. So you okay with that?
That's perfectly fine with me.
All right, good. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Steve. Steve, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Steve?
Yeah, good morning, JD and Brian. Brian, I tell you, I really think this is a really difficult situation.
Of course it is.
I
It's
thought
difficult for
Brady's
everybody.
call was pretty interesting. In fact, the gentleman that has the information on the sale of the virus from North Carolina University was calling yesterday for the incarceration and maybe a death warrant on Fauci. But he's came back in line. We've got a lot of people that have infiltrated that are globalists. And, Brian, their intent, the way I understand it, is to destroy your country and kill millions of people.
So you think Fauci is intentionally trying to kill millions of people? Is that the point of this phone call?
No, he probably thinks Bill Gates is, though.
Is that what you're saying? I'm just trying to follow you. You think Fauci, a man who's been a scientist,
I think that possibility exists, just like you said.
All right, hold on. Let's start from square one. All right, fair enough. I get it.
Really know, and
I get your opinion.
Right
I get your opinion. So Steve, the caller, just called into the show. His opinion is he believes Dr. Fauci and some of the good doctors that work in the Trump administration and have been working in this country for 40 to 50 years might want to intentionally be trying to kill innocent Americans. Steve, that's a really great take, man. You know, some other show host might keep you on.
Fauci's history, do you know, Brian?
What is your history? Do you have an education?
History
No. I want to know your history. I want to know your history now. You want to attack Fauci and say he wants to kill millions? Why don't you? No. You just said the doctor wants to kill millions of innocent people, and that could be his objective. So now I want to know your education. How dumb are you as an individual to make a statement like that? What is your education?
I'm a healthcare professional. I graduated from the top third of my law school class.
What school did you go to?
UNLV, Gamma Cum Laude.
What do you do for work now, sir?
I test very well, and I listen, and I weigh things out. What could be?
What is your evidence? Okay, so if you went to school, and I don't believe you, by the way, but let's just hypothetically say you're telling me the truth.
Prove it.
All right, now I don't need your proof because you're a waste of my time, sir. Okay, fine. So what evidence? As you know, when you form an opinion, you have to have something to back that up. I'm sure you learned that in second grade. I'm sure you at least went to elementary school. So where is your evidence? Give me some evidence that would lead you to believe that Dr. Fauci is a murderer like Adolf Hitler and he wants to kill millions of innocent Americans. Give me one piece of evidence now.
I don't have the physical.
Exactly. Get lost. Get lost, you idiot. Take your degree and shove it up your ass. Get lost. You're a disgrace to this country. For you to think that Dr. Fauci is a murderer and wants to kill innocent people, you are a disgrace to UNLV, and you are a disgrace to Las Vegas, and don't ever call back here again.
He calls in probably 5 times a week.
I don't want that guy. Okay. If that guy is dumb enough.
I actually do want him calling back, so feel free to call back.
Okay, well, I don't.
And all he's saying is that globalists, by definition, are all about population control, which, by default, is killing millions of people.
So you're defending a caller.
I'm not defending anything. I'm just telling you
what
he said.
Well, you haven't criticized him at all. You're defending him and saying you want him to call back.
I don't agree with him. I don't just because I don't agree doesn't mean he can't call back.
Okay, not agreeing with somebody like you're a Trump supporter. I'm not. Okay, we can agree and disagree on some of the.
And I've said this for the last month. I said during this crisis, I am going to be as gung ho about Donald Trump as I've made that so clear.
If I could just finish my statement, you're entitled to that.
And for the listeners that just started listening to the show before all this happened, I was the opposite. I was not a Trump apologist.
To that, and I'm glad.
I want this to be over, and I don't want to be political. And it's turning political, and I think the media is treating Trump very poorly.
If I could just go back to that phone call. I don't have a problem with you. You have your reasons for voting for Donald Trump. We disagree. I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. I don't have a problem with anybody who feels that way. I have a problem with somebody, JD. There's a fine line between your opinions on Trump and somebody that calls into a show that accuses Dr. Fauci of wanting to kill millions of innocent Americans like an evil, murderous dictator. He's comparing Dr. Fauci to Kim Jong-un and Adolf Hitler and Assad. There is a difference between disagreeing with somebody's opinion and just flat out calling somebody a piece of crap. Who makes
I'll tell you the craziest.
Do you
part
understand
of that
my
call,
point?
I understand what you're saying. Okay. But the craziest part of that call was he actually said that, or he implied that the virus was created at North Carolina University and sold.
He has zero evidence to back that up. He is a Looney Tune nut.
People are saying that. There's a lot of different conspiracy theories.
But you understand the distinction between you and I.
But they are seriously conspiracy theories at this point.
Okay, but you understand that you and I disagreeing on like a press conference, fine. It's good debate. Let's go after it. But when you accuse the Dr. Fauci of wanting to kill innocent lives in this country, JD, I think we both agree that is disgraceful, and nobody should ever say that. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to John. John, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, what's up, John?
Hey, JD. I wasn't such a pointed jab as you think it was.
That's all right.
But I got two questions for you, man.
As long as you understand the guidelines, that's cool with me, man.
This is the John who told you were on drugs.
Yes, it was. And John, I don't do drugs. I am drinking.
I do.
I am drinking 2 Aquafina waters, and I did put an emergency dissolvable tablet in one of them, though.
John, for the record,
so I could be all hopped up on that.
For the record, John, I'm the one who does all the drugs. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's a fact.
Go ahead, John.
Two questions. Specifically, what did Donald Trump do in the month of February? And two, how can you possibly give him credit when he stated up front that he was not going to be the point person, that he was there to back up the state? So he clearly does not deserve any credit for this. Nobody could envision that Governor Steve Sisolak would have the gigantic cojones to shut down the Strip. That thought never crossed my mind. I doubt that it crossed yours either. So two questions. Specifically, what did Trump do in February? And two, how can you possibly give Trump credit for this when he stated explicitly up front that he's there to back up the states?
Let's keep John on the line.
Okay,
Go ahead, JD.
What was Trump supposed to do in February, considering there were 35 cases at the end of the month? And Trump is not an infectious disease expert. Anthony Fauci is. Anthony Fauci is the one who recommended that the country be shut down. He recommended all the lockdowns. Anything Steve Sisolak did was based on Anthony Fauci's recommendation. I don't think that can be denied. And if this case, or if this virus is legitimately the most deadly contagious virus since the Spanish flu, and the expected death toll was 2.2 million, and that dropped to 60,000, and we unemployed 20 million Americans, and we shut down the entire economy for 2 months, either one of two things has to happen. Either it is an overreaction, or someone has to get credit for containing and limiting the death. Simple. And right now, right now, the Trump administration is the only administration that is handling this. Anthony Fauci, Deborah Birx, all the IHME modeling, which in my opinion, I went on a big diatribe about it yesterday, but it's all been wrong. But it doesn't matter. We still limited the virus, and if this virus was supposed to kill 5 or 10 million people in the two Americas, North and South America, but in America alone, 1.6, 2.2, and that number's dropping 97%. Where does the credit come from? It's got to come from somewhere.
John, I can respond to that as well, but go ahead. You first.
That's fine.
I just think it's hysterical, JD, that
That's fine.
These mental gymnastics you perform to try to justify his actions. I mean, clearly people were sounding the alarm bell in February.
Can I interject? John, if I could just interject real quickly, and I want you to hang on the line. Here's who I give credit to if those numbers drop. I don't give credit to the President of the United States in this situation. Here's who I give credit. The doctors, the front lines, the people that are saving lives, the doctors, the police officers, the people who are going in harm's way and risking their lives so that others are not infected or that they save lives. Those are the people that I give credit to. I certainly will not give credit to a man who sits in the White House, who gets his fake tan on every day, and who tweets and goes after people on a daily basis.
That has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Okay, well, that's who I think.
All those frontline people, those heroes who might get that $25,000 check if Chuck Schumer gets his way, which I'm not saying I disagree with. I agree. They do deserve a lot of credit. But who directed the 15-day to stop the spread? Who directed the 30-day to stop the spread? Anthony Fauci, Deborah Birx, Mike Pence, the task force briefing team, all those people.
And how do you explain the memo that was given to the Trump administration in late January? How do you explain that? How do you explain the memo that was given to the Trump administration in February that he never read?
All it comes down to is what Anthony Fauci said on January 26th, which was the exact same thing.
So what others in his administration say don't mean anything. What Obama did doesn't mean anything.
In this case, it's all about the experts, right? You've made it very, very clear that we should listen to the experts. Well, the expert,
absolutely.
Yeah, well, the expert was wrong.
Was he the only one? Was he the only one?
The expert,
was Fauci the only one?
The infectious disease expert, the one person who was in charge of this, who literally during the press conference yesterday, he said, I went to Donald Trump twice.
He was not in charge of it. That's not true.
And every single time I gave him a recommendation, he went with it. He said that during the press conference yesterday.
Let's try to steal one more phone call
Anthony
here before
Fauci
we go to
himself is the one who said as late as February 29th that this was not something to be worried about.
And members of his own administration were
so
sending,
why would why would Donald Trump make a bunch of preparation tactics if Anthony Fauci, the leader of his infectious disease team, the foremost expert in the world with this right now, why would he have done a bunch of things in February?
Okay,
if his own infectious disease expert is not telling him to? Yeah, sure.
I want you to give me that entire statement in context, and we'll go over it tomorrow. I will gladly talk about it with you tomorrow. If you want to talk about that entire statement in context, and fine, I'll have that conversation. But it's important to note that Fauci wasn't the only person that was giving Donald Trump information. Let's take one more call before we go to break. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you're next on the Vegas.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Brian?
Man. What's on your mind?
Hey, I just wanted to say, this is still – the virus is still ongoing, and we're still trying to calm a lot of this down within the entire country.
Good point.
And throughout the week, starting last week, a lot of people have been pointing blame, either with it's Trump, Pence, Fauci. We still have this virus still going on that is not contained, and the economy is still not back into running like it should.
Yep.
I
agree.
I wish a lot of the governors, the mayors within all the states would just stick to the social distancing, all the safety rules for every county, township, whatever it may be, so people can still stay healthy and put this to bed.
Yeah, Brian, you're right.
All the pointing and the blame will come later on once this is behind us. We're still not in the safety zone of any of this.
I agree with just about everything you said, except for one quick point that I do want to make. I think it is very important moving forward that we have coronavirus press conferences that are not about propaganda, not attacking members of the media, not 2-minute videos praising the president. So moving forward, I would like to see that. But I agree with what you just said. We are not done with this virus. In fact, New York may have just hit its pinnacle. We don't know yet. We don't know. And you're absolutely right, Brian. This virus has not been contained. And by the way, to go along with what you just said, you're going to want to listen to the next segment, my friend. Here's why. We talked yesterday about people that are defying orders in churches, gathering in the hundreds, not listening to the professionals, not listening to their politicians, some of them Republicans, defying orders. And now we have a pastor that has lost his life because he defied orders, and now he is dead after contracting the coronavirus. Well, we have a woman joining us right now, or I shouldn't say now, coming up after the break. Her name is Annie Black. And Annie is on the Mesquite City Council. She's running for state assembly. She disagrees with a lot of what Governor Sisolak has said, and she believes we should be allowed to pray. We're going to give her a chance to defend that opinion coming up next right here on the Vegas Take, right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.